around SDA Church to really just to usher the Lord's presence and welcome the presence of the Holy Spirit with us as we join. Pastor Gordon. Let me unmute your mic. 1 minute. My co-host, please, if you can find Pastor Gordon and mute him, I would really appreciate that. I'm trying to locate his name.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm here, Miss Gordon. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a privilege and an honor to share with you on this platform this afternoon. On such an occasion like this one, and I really commend the Western Regional Health Authorities for the efforts to really sensitize us to this whole idea of vaccination, and more so the vaccine that is causing many to ask a lot of questions, the COVID-19 vaccine. But today my task is to share with you a brief word from the Lord, a word of encouragement to usher us into the rest of the day's program. Thank you guys for the opportunity to do so. I will be sharing, let me see how best if I can turn on my camera here. All right. So I'll be sharing with you from the book of John for about 5 minutes or less. From the book of John chapter 16 and verse 33. John 16, reading verse 33. And you can just follow with me if you have a Bible, or just listen. Oh, sorry, Northeast Regional Health Authority. Thank you so much. Pardon my mistake. John 16 verse 33 is the text, so you can follow or just listen while I read, and then we share together for the next few moments. It reads, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may, that in you," sorry, let me go again. "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer," says Jesus. "I have overcome the world." I want to share with you briefly under the caption, "Finding Peace Through a Pandemic." Finding peace through a pandemic. Let us pray. Father, guide this thought as we share together. May we all be encouraged and even strengthened as we go through this pandemic period. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Finding peace through a pandemic. Trouble and tribulation are very familiar to our existence. In fact, from the lips of Job, a man who has tasted his fair share of troubles, come these words: "Man who is born of woman is of a few days and full of trouble." Beloved friends, trouble is not a choice. Trouble for us is a part of life, a side effect of the most dreadful disease ever known to man, called sin. Though it may manifest itself in various forms like grief or financial issues, or maybe for some of us it may be emotional struggles or even social issues. Today, we all have troubles, and we all are familiar with the new face of our current trouble called the COVID-19 virus or COVID-19. Beloved, I say to us, no matter what face trouble wears, it always disrupts the peace. It inspires fear in many. It causes anxiety and makes us uncomfortable and some insecure. My duty today is to point us to the source of peace. Peace is not found in a place nor in a thing. Peace is not even found in a vaccine made by man. Though it may help your immunity to resist a certain type of disease, you can never vaccinate from all trouble that we face. But I say to us, I strongly believe there is a vaccine that can help us to build immunity to all that this world, the diseases that this world throws at us. It is called the blood of Jesus, and it will not only vaccinate us from COVID or AIDS or any of these other diseases, it vaccinates us from all types of trouble. Beloved friends, the Bible says, Jesus was speaking, it says, in me you can find peace. Peace is the serenity that is above all the troubles that we face, and we can find that only in Jesus. Not in money, not in things and possessions, or only in good health, but it is something that has to do with a state of mind, and it is not intrinsic. It comes from outside of us. It comes from a person, and that is Jesus. And today, even as we go through, the Bible tells us in Revelation that these are they who have come out of great tribulation. It speaks of a day when those who are in a relationship, in a companionship, who have allowed the master, the greatest physician, to vaccinate them against sin, they will eventually overcome all troubles, all diseases. And one day, we will be immune, totally immune from all the troubles that we are facing. Beloved friends, even as we go through this time, as we talk about the vaccination and the vaccines, may you come to grips with this inevitable reality that the only vaccine that can help us is the blood of Jesus. And the Bible tells us that he wants all of us to be partakers of this vaccine. He says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes. So today, beloved friends, I point you to the only source of peace through this pandemic, the only place where you can find rest from your troubles and your anxiety and your hardships and all the trouble and the challenges that you may be facing that may disrupt the peace in your life. His name is Jesus. He will never leave you nor forsake you. The Bible says he is the shepherd that will lead you even through the valley of the shadow of death. Here I point to you, the source of all peace. In me, he says, you will find peace. In this world, there will always be trouble. But unless you place your hand in the Prince of Peace, the troubles of this life will get the better of you. Today, I encourage you, through this pandemic, there is peace. It is found in the man Christ Jesus. God bless you all. Let us pray. Father, we thank you so much for your blood, your watch care upon us. We thank you, Lord, for all that you have been doing in preserving this country, in inspiring these leaders to guide us and to help us to come to a clearer understanding of what this virus and this vaccine is about, that we may be informed as to the decision that we should make going forward. We pray, Lord, that we may understand that this vaccine is limited in its ability, but you are unlimited in your ability as it relates to saving us from the inevitable penalty of sin. Father, bless and keep us as we go through. Inspire the presenters and let us understand what is being said, and thus we may be more capable of going forward in decision making. God bless. Thank you so much for the opportunity that we have.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor Wayan Gordon, pastor of the Clarkstown District of Seventh-day Adventist Churches. Indeed, Jesus is our peace, and we certainly need him to give us peace in this pandemic. I know we have quite a number of churches represented here today. We have the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we have the Baptist, Anglican. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you all. Good to have you. Our first speaker today is Dr. Deborah Ware. Dr. Deborah Ware is the Regional Medical Epidemiologist at the Northeast Regional Health Authority. Dr. Ware will be providing an overview of the distribution of cases in the parishes of St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. As Dr. Ware prepares herself to share her screen, I want to remind you, in these times, we all need to be a hero. I'll be sharing a video, Be a Hero. Allow me to share my screen.
Coronavirus is in Jamaica. Employees are working from home, schools are closed, and major events. Coronavirus is in Jamaica. Employees are working from home, schools are closed, and major events are being postponed. This is because the government needs Jamaicans to help stop the spread of the virus. If the number of infected persons increases, our hospitals and health centers will be challenged. Thankfully, each of us has the power to fight the spread of coronavirus. If we stay home and avoid contact with others as much as possible, we can slow the spread and save lives. Entering public spaces makes you more likely to put others, especially the elderly and people with chronic illnesses, at risk. So this is your chance to protect yourself and others. Wash your hands regularly. Stay at least 3 feet away from other persons. Be a hero. Stay at home.
Thank you. I now hand over to Dr. Ware. I have stopped sharing. So Dr. Ware, co-host, please unmute Dr. Ware if you can locate her. All right, so in case you're wondering if you're in the right place, yes, you are. This is the Northeast Regional Health Authority's public sensitization session, the COVID-19 vaccine and you. So if you're just joining, welcome to you all. Welcome to all the representatives of churches who are here. Very glad it is our third in a series of sensitization sessions. Our first session was held on March 4, and we had another on March 9, and thus far, both sessions have been really truly enlightening, and so I trust that you will enjoy today's session. I hear Dr. Ware, her mic is open. Dr. Ware, I now hand over to you for your presentation, sharing on the distribution of cases. I'm going to stop sharing in a minute, in the parishes of St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. You can now start sharing. Dr. Ware, over to you. Are you able to share? While Dr. Ware is preparing to share her screen, I have stopped sharing, so she should be able to share. We ask if you have questions, just to place your questions in the chat. If you have questions for Dr. Ware.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Gordon. Thank you. I am still unable to share. The host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let me see if I can enable that. 1 minute, please.
Right, please.
All right, let me know if you can share now.
Great.
Great, wonderful. Excellent. I'm seeing your screen, Dr. Wonderful. Welcome, Dr. Good to hear from you. Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to everyone, and I'm happy to be here. And thanks to all those persons who have made it out today, Sunday, to join us at our presentation. I will be just sharing some information as it relates to what has been happening in the Northeast, as it relates to the number of cases that we have recorded so far. So this information being shared is current up to Friday, March the 26th. In the Northeast, we have had a total of 4,347 cases to date, with the parish of St. Anne accounting for over 2,125 to be exact, followed by Portland, 1,161, and St. Mary, 1,061. Active currently as of Friday, March 26th, we had some 823 cases, which is 19% of our cumulative, with the parish of Portland having 293 active cases, followed by St. Mary, 278, and St. Anne, 247. Our recovery stands at 3,369 cases, which is 77% of our cumulative, with the parish of St. Anne accounting for the majority of the recoveries, 1,788, followed by Portland, 851, and St. Mary, 730. Unfortunately, we've had some 124 deaths recorded in the Northeast, with the parish of St. Anne accounting for 72 deaths, St. Mary, 34, and Portland, 18. As it relates to the number of cases we have isolated at home, these are individuals who have tested positive and are at home. We have 219 cases in St. Anne, St. Mary, 270, and Portland, 301 cases. In home quarantine, these are individuals who would have been direct contact of positive individuals who would have tested positive, or individuals who would have presented with signs and symptoms of COVID-19 and are awaiting results. We have 1,637 such cases, with 700 cases in Portland, followed by St. Mary, 580, and St. Anne, 357. This is frozen. Give me a minute, Miss Llewellyn. Mrs. Gordon, this is not moving.
No problem, Dr. Ware. Right. All right, so persons who are saying they're not hearing, we are hearing, my co-host is hearing, so it may be a challenge with your internet connection, because all on our side, we are hearing. So I'm not sure. So our apologies, but I think that may have to do with your bandwidth on your side, but we are all hearing here. Someone is saying they are hearing. Wonderful, Miss Fullerton. Thank you so much, Mr. Fullerton. Dr. Ware, you want to close down and reopen the PowerPoint to see if it will play or move? Her presentation is sticking. You want to close?
It was the mute. It was the mute button that was not allowing me to unmute.
Okay.
All right. So when we look at our distribution by sex, we have a 1 to 1.2 ratio, male to female ratio, with some 1,975 males and 2,371 females. The age group that accounts for the majority of our cases so far is between the 25 to 45 years. These are individuals who are otherwise young, healthy, up and about, would be going to their workplaces or just out on the road. And these are the individuals, the majority being asymptomatic, would then return home and possibly be responsible for transmitting the virus to their older family members. When we look at our age distribution, the youngest case we have had was in a 6-day-old infant and the oldest in a 100-year-old male, and fortunately he survived. Mrs. Gordon, I'm going to close down and restart because I am sticking again. This seems, let me just stop sharing.
Okay,
yes, let me stop sharing and I will start again.
The wonderful internet, glories of technology. The joys of technology.
Right, it was working quite well before we came on. Yes. And this is not moving.
Again.
Yeah.
Oh no.
All right, give me a minute.
You may have to minimize and not do
not
large screen.
Okay.
No, in terms of share, but not from the slideshow. Right. Share within PowerPoint. See if that will work. Ooh, what happened?
And it is not even allowing me to come out of it. No, I'm not sure what's happening right here. Let me escape.
So you've stopped sharing.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you've started sharing again.
Right. Let me see if this will work.
Right. Yes,
I have to literally go on it and tab on it each time now.
Right. It's working now.
Yes.
Good.
All right. So I thought I would share with you how is it that our cases are distributed across all the 3 parishes, looking at individuals who would have been admitted to hospital. On Friday, March 26th, at the St. Anne's Bay Regional Hospital, we had 32 positive clients admitted and 11 suspected clients. At the Anote Bay Hospital, there were 10 positive clients and 7 suspected clients. At the Port Antonio Hospital, we had 5 positive clients admitted and 3 suspected cases. And at the Port Maria Hospital, we had 2 positive cases. So overall, in the Northeast, as of the 26th of March on Friday, we had 49 positive clients admitted to hospital. Clients who are admitted to hospitals are individuals who would have been deemed to be moderate to severe or critically ill and needed the assistance of the medical professionals to have them treated. The suspected cases, again, individuals who would have presented with signs and symptoms which are suspicious of COVID and would have been moderate to severely ill that necessitated them being in hospital while they await the return of their results. All right, so here we're seeing a representation of the cases across all our 3 parishes, St. Mary, Portland, and St. Anne, where the white cases, very few these past few days, actually represent 0 cases. The lighter shade of pink represents 1 to 16 cases, and the darker pink, here we have the darker pink will represent 17 to 20 cases. So this was up to Thursday. This is what we looked like on Friday. And just a throwback to the good old days back in September when we had more white areas on our maps than pink, and we would really like to go back to that stage. When we look at our cases across all 3 parishes, we have identified communities that the numbers are of interest and would have had the health team out in these communities carrying out their various interventions. In St. Anne, we have Alexandra proper, St. Deca, Bethany, Coffee Ridge, Mackenzie, 9 Miles. We have Brownstone proper, Liberty Drive and Street, Top Road, Lindale, Wilberforce. In Ochereus, Buckfield, Great Pond, Content Gardens, Exchange, Walkerswood. In the St. Anne's Bay area, we have the Runaway Bay area, Stairtown, Discovery Bay, Lime Hall. In Claremont, Golden Grove, Monique, Briarfield, Lidford, Irons Mountain. Across in St. Mary, we have several communities of interest. We have Boscobel, Islington, Racecourse, Mason Hall, Hamilton Mountain, Orocabesa. In Highgate, we have Esher, Highgate proper, Rock Spring, Cromwell Land, Richmond, Clonmel. In the Anoka Bay area, we have Anoka Bay proper, Devon Pen, Enfield, Castleton, Long Bay. And in the Gale Health District, we have Lucky Hill, Retreat, Charleston, Pembroke Hall, Spring Valley, and Top Pen. In Portland, again, several communities are impacted, where we have Buff Bay proper, Windsor Castle, Belvedere, Balclares, Cascade. In the Hope Bay area, Hope Bay proper, Black Hill, Swift River, Black Hill, St. Margaret's Bay, Port Antonio proper, Westwards, Boundbrook, Drapers, Ferry Hill, and Long Road. In order for the health team to best engage the community, we have our health education and promotion officers continuing to engage the community in various settings. Previously in our churches, when we had face-to-face, now we are virtual. In business places, at our health centers and hospitals, in the markets, in the places of safety, at the libraries, the bus parks, the police station. We continue to engage through the use of our town criers in the community, virtual sessions, walk and talk in communities, house-to-house visits in affected communities, and we continue to partner with our external partners, where we will have teams from the health department engaging nowadays virtual, but prior we were doing the visits to these business places. In order to prevent the transmission and spread of COVID-19, we continue to encourage persons to wear their masks, wash hands, and encourage the physical distance in the 6 feet between persons, and to just incorporate the many protocols that would have been shared for business places and for public facilities, so as to ensure the safety of persons who would be visiting. So today's session is to speak about vaccine. Dr. Ennis will be going into details about the vaccine, but just for us to understand that the vaccine would prevent you from getting COVID-19, it would prevent you from spreading COVID-19 virus to others, it would prevent you from becoming seriously ill, and it will prevent you from dying due to complication or severe COVID-19. So the aim is to have as many persons in the community protected from getting COVID-19, and this will be done through vaccination. As more persons are vaccinated, it becomes harder for the disease to spread. Here in the Northeast, we started with our vaccination activities on March the 10th. To date, we have vaccinated some 2,940 persons in the Northeast, where we we would have engaged our healthcare workers, both public and private, individuals from the Jamaica Constabulary Forces, or senior citizens over the age of 75. The process of vaccinating our elderly continues, and we are encouraging you to assist whenever and wherever possible to assist these older persons in the community to register for the COVID-19 vaccine. Registration can be done on the 888 One Love number, 888-663-5683, or going online at www.moh.gov.jm. The process is very simple and easy to use. So if you have an elderly relative, a neighbor, a friend, you can assist these individuals and to getting them registered. They can also seek the assistance of their healthcare provider, both in our health centers and privately, to get themselves registered. We continue with our COVID-19 testing, and testing is done at all our public hospitals, and these are individuals who have been contacts of positive cases or individuals who are symptomatic. Persons may also choose to test privately, and we find a lot of persons who may be traveling abroad may opt for this option. We have our health centers, their emergency operating centers. We have the various telephone numbers that are available. It's being projected here, and same can be found on our website. So at the end of my presentation, just encourage everyone, be safe by keeping this physical distancing, 6 feet. Be safe from coronavirus, utilizing your mask. Be safe by ensuring you constantly wash your hands or use your alcohol-based sanitizer, and we have our COVID vaccine. So whenever it's your turn, just listen out, and you will get the mandate. Where is it? How is it that you can register for the vaccine? Thank you very much, Mrs. Gordon.
Thank you, Dr. Ware, for that very informative presentation. If you're just joining, Dr. Deborah Ware, the Regional Medical Epidemiologist at the Northeast Regional Health Authority, just presented on the distribution of cases. So if you have questions specific to Dr. Ware's presentation, please type in the chat. Dr. Ware, I have noted that there are some questions for you. If you go over to the chat, I noticed that there are, I think, 2 questions specific to your presentation. We're going to be taking the vaccine-related questions just later, but there is a question. It says, good afternoon, everyone, from Roddy. Good afternoon, everyone. With regards to statistics, why would you have 1,800 people quarantined, but then report 800 as active? Why aren't people quarantined at home or otherwise in isolation considered? Do you see that question, Dr. Ware? Dr. Ware? And I think that there is another one as well. Dr.
Yes,
Ware, you hear me?
Yes, I'm able to unmute. It seems as if once I mute myself, it's very difficult to unmute.
Okay.
Right. So
You're
I was
seeing that question?
Right. Let me see. All right. The point. With regards to that, why would you have it in current? But then, okay. All right. So when I speak to the active cases, these are individuals who would have been diagnosed with COVID-19, and they would have been in their 14 days. So they're being considered as being infectious. Active clients, persons who test positive and are active, are actually in isolation, whereas persons who are in quarantine are individuals who, one, may have been a contact to a positive case and are awaiting the return of a result, or individuals who may present with signs and symptoms suggestive of COVID and are awaiting their results. Once the results returns, and if it's a positive result, then they are now termed as being in isolation. So that when we use the term isolation, it's speaking specifically to individuals who would have tested positive, and those that are in quarantine are suspected and are awaiting the results of COVID-19 tests. The other question I see was from, I think it was Mrs. McCoy from Donna McCoy, and she indicated that the process was very lengthy and it took all day. I know individuals have been complaining about not getting through on the toll-free number. That is why I suggest to anyone use the online platform. It's very simple. Once you get on the moh.gov.jm website, you look to the right, it comes across on a yellow thing, and it asks it says if you're applying for the COVID vaccine, and you click on that, and it just asks you simple questions. It asks for a telephone number, and that would have to be a cell number, because once you plug in that number, you will get a one-time, it's a unique number, and it will go to your text, and you will need, to your telephone, I'm sorry, and you will need that number to proceed. After which it asks about your name, your date of birth. If you're born after 1946, you will not be able to proceed because you have to be 75 years and older. Then it asks about your address. It then asks the parish that you want to be vaccinated. Once you choose the parish, then the list pops up of all the vaccination sites that are in the parish. You choose one, and it gives you the option of the time that you would like to get vaccinated. So I recommend that you use the online platform. I've found that to be very easy, and I've been assisting persons in getting registration. Unfortunately, the 888 number, possibly it's a lot of persons are calling, and I've not gotten through, but definitely the online platform is working, and it's very user-friendly. I think that's the only question for me.
There is another question from Mr. Bobby Tankurani.
Okay.
If you scroll down, you'll see.
Right. All right. So 1 minute, and I see where Mrs. McCoy has indicated that there's a closeout time. We are not told. For each vaccination site, there is a limit to the number of persons that can get vaccinated during the specified period. So you may choose a site and a time, and you may see that the center has closed. It's because all the booking for that site on that day has been used up, right? So you possibly may have to choose the next, the nearest center to you. Let me see if I can find Bobby's question. I'm not, can you read that for me, Sean?
Sure.
I'm not finding it.
Okay, so this is a question from Bobby Tankurani. It says, if we have a list of persons, if we have sent a list of persons to NERA/MAJ previously, do they have to register again? So if we have sent a list of persons to NERA/MAJ previously, do they have to register again?
I know we would have received recently a list from the MAJ with individuals who were interested in being vaccinated. We are not sure if they were entered by the MAJ, so I would recommend that go ahead and have these individuals entered on the electronic platform to get their dates.
All right. Thank you. I think at this time, in the interest of time, we will go back to the chat at the end of Dr. Ennis's presentation. So we want to use this opportunity to say thank you, Dr. Ware, for your very informative presentation. Please stay on hand should there be questions concerning the Northeast Regional Health Authority. Let me say welcome again to those persons who are joining. I notice there are 14 persons in the waiting room. I encourage my co-host just to let them in. And so if you're just joining, welcome to Northeast Regional Health Authority's public sensitization session regarding the COVID-19 vaccine and you. We had our first speaker, and we are now down to our main speaker. Our main speaker for this evening is Dr. Melody Ennis. Dr. Ennis is the Director of the Family Health Services at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Dr. Ennis is one of the key players who have really been at the forefront of the vaccine rollout in Jamaica. She's an excellent orator who captivates her audience with her charming personality and her unique presentation style. Dr. Ennis, so humbled that you have really agreed to join us once again. Welcome, and I see she has already started sharing her screen. Please unmute her, my co-host. I will now unmute my mic. Welcome, Dr. Ennis. Good to have you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so very much for the invitation. And just thanks for spending time with us this afternoon into evening looking at vaccines. You know, they're kind of like set the stage for us, looking at the stressors that we have been facing, certainly now for just over a year. Go on slideshow. Aha, it's there. Right, so, you know, we have been under severe stress over the last 1 year, and medicine has not been doing so well. Can you imagine a doctor telling you medicine not doing so well? Because the scale is really in the wrong direction. Look at where it is. We have lockdowns, we are separated from, persons are lonely, there is no money, schools out, children are being abused at home, the old people, it's just horrible. Persons are in fear, there is anxiety, there is just overall anguish in the world. And where is medicine? Trying hard to bring the scale down, not being successful at all. So what have we been doing? We've been hitting COVID-19 like left, right. We've tried retroviral medication, antibiotics, oral antibodies, steroids. We're now at ivermectin. And if you're a dog owner or a dog lover, you might know. But at the end of the day, we are still in anguish with close to 120 persons infected and over 2.65 million persons dead. That's in 1 year, COVID-19. So, what next? Well, what next comes vaccines. They help. Will they be able to stop this pandemic? We have looked and we have not found any other alternative as yet. We are at vaccines. These are substances, yes, medicines, and we take them via injection drops or nasal spray. We are a injection for vaccines because we have all had our measles shots. We have all had drops. We're not familiar with the nasal spray at all because we don't use that one here in country. But if you have been following COVID and following it closely, you is actually preparing or making a vaccine. And guess what? Their COVID-19 vaccine out of Cuba actually uses the NIRE methodology. Now, vaccines simply stimulate our bodies to produce antibodies. And these are just germ tools. And they have a special function. They allow stronger and quicker immune response when organisms invade. But what is this immune response I'm talking about? Well, it is really our body's ability to fight off, resist, to withstand, to counteract, just to keep at bay any particular infection or toxin that, is trying to take us down. So we have these specialized cells that once they are sensitized or they are exposed, they develop memory. And once there is re-exposure, then yes, they are ready to protect us. So the easiest way I have found to understand this is to think of it and our immune response as that is at the Jamaica Defense Force. So we have soldiers, okay? And there are different categories of soldiers, all having a different role and function. However, the overarching goal of all of the soldiers is to protect this little piece of rock. So they have to gather intelligence. They need to study the strategies and tactics of any invading opponent. And they actually go back to camp, stay in camp, and they build their ammunition so that if any country think them bad and try to attack little Jamaica, we have our soldiers ready with their ammunition to protect us. Thing that happens in the immune system. The white cells are our soldiers, different types of them doing different things. Protect us. So they too, like the soldiers, need to gather intelligence. Where they get this intelligence from? One place is vaccines. So when we take the vaccine, these cells look at it. So this is how the germs come in. They go back, and what do? They done, and they store it in memory. So once the comes in, what do? Take out all the big guns and protect. So that's the immune system in a nutshell. So we have been using vaccines to do what? To prime our immune system. And we have several different types of vaccines. We have the live attenuated ones, the weakened version of the virus, such as measles, mumps, and rubella, yellow fever, chickenpox. Then we have another type of vaccine which uses the virus. The virus is killed and purified, and we get that one as the polio drops and the influenza that's offered to us every year. And then now we have another vaccine that actually uses the toxins that the virus and bacteria produces, purifies it, and forms it into a vaccine. And I believe that this one is like the most used vaccine in Jamaica. It is tetanus toxoid, your TET-tox shot. Because with every dog bite, with every rusty nail joke, with every scratch or scrape, with every fall down, with everybody wants a TET-tox because we hear about and know about lockjaw, and nobody wants to get lockjaw. So we take this vaccine willingly, and it don't cause no problem except to what? Prevent lockjaw. So we have a group of vaccines that I've put together because they all use the pieces. They use small pieces of either the virus or the bacteria to make them. And these are the subunits, the recombinants, polysaccharides, all sorts of ones placed in this group. But the prime example that we do know about is hepatitis B. And if you are a healthcare worker on this platform, you would have received your Hep B because you're not supposed to be practicing anything anywhere in health without hepatitis B, because it's a very, very, very contagious disease. We also have HPV as another example. Now, these vaccines that I speak about, they have additives in them. And what really are these additives? Well, they are substances, by and large, that we find in our foods to do what? To preserve and stabilize and make better. That's what they are, and that's what happens to these additives in foods. So we have preservatives, and these prevent contamination once the vial is open. We have stabilizers that prevent chemical reactions from occurring and keep the components from sticking together. Then we have something called surfactant. Surfactant is placed so that the ingredients stay blended together, and it prevents clumping and settling. And I know that everybody, or most people on this platform, really like surfactant, but we never know that we like it, because it is surfactant placed in ice that makes ice cream smooth and silky, and that one that you taste it and you just really take you to heaven. Surfactant that caused that. When it don't have in any surfactant, what you get is the milk powder kind of thing. The grainy, just milky. And we don't buy that ice cream. Not at all. So, we take so much surfactant in throughout our life just by eating alone. And of course, there are other products that it is in, but it is one of the products in the vaccines. Then we have residuals. Now, residuals are not really active ingredients. They're like egg proteins, yeast, and antibiotics. In very small quantities, measured in parts per million and parts per billion. Then we have some diluent. Now, the diluent is just something to mix it up with. You say reconstitute, they call it. But really, the vaccines usually come as a powder. We need injection. You can't inject powder into you, so I have to mix it with something. And it's mixed with just what? Sterile water. Can do and will not, and has not done anything to anyone. Then you have the adjuvants. Now, the adjuvants, these are the little ones now that helps to improve the immune response by keeping the vaccine at the injection site. So what you get at the injection site? You get the pain and the tenderness, and your arm feel like, oh, well, it's the fault of adjuvants. And although we have that discomfort, what are they doing? They're improving the immune response. Then we have some salts, aluminum salts in the form of phosphates, hydroxide, and sulfates. These do not cause any long-term health problems at all, and are the same ones that we are eating and drinking daily. So since vaccines have been around for so long, we have been using them from birth. We get the BCG shot. Before we even come out and go on the breast, we start get vaccines. What is this hullabaloo now about the COVID-19 vaccine? So I want to share with you a little video on vaccine development 101. Please take a listen, everybody.
How do you create a vaccine to fight a new disease? And why does it take so long? Well, first, you have to identify the virus or bacterium that causes the disease. In some cases, the pathogen itself can then be weakened or deactivated and used to make a vaccine. But this isn't always possible. In these cases, the next step is to identify the pathogen's antigens, unique protein or glycoprotein markers, which can form the basis of a new vaccine. For some pathogens, these antigens always stay the same. Other pathogens, like the virus that causes flu, can change or mutate their antigens, and so these must be reanalyzed every year. Once you have identified the pathogen or antigens, you need to decide how you are going to use them to build a vaccine. This is called the vaccine platform. There are a lot of options here, like subunit vaccines that only use part of the pathogen. There are also newer or more experimental technologies, like viral vector or nucleic acid-based vaccines. But we'll get to these a bit later. You also need to decide how the vaccine will be administered. By injection into the skin or muscle, orally like the polio vaccine, or through the nose like some flu vaccines. Each of these options could affect the response the vaccine induces. For now, let's say you've decided on the platform and designed the vaccine. Next, it needs to be tested, first in cell cultures and then in animal models. This might include challenge studies, where animals that have been given the vaccine are deliberately exposed to the target disease to see if the vaccine protects them. Further down the line, and if the disease isn't too serious or effective treatments are available, humans might take part in challenge studies too. Once the vaccine candidate is proven safe in animals, you need to prove you can manufacture it to a high enough standard for people and at scale. This is called GMP certification. If the vaccine passes all of these stages, it's time to begin human trials. Normally, these come in 3 phases, and they all have to be passed. First, the vaccine is given to a small group of healthy people to test for adverse reactions. This is called the safety trial. Second, you give the vaccine to hundreds of people to work out what dose is needed to trigger a big enough immune response. Finally, you can trial the vaccine in thousands of people to see how effective it is. This step is often the slowest, and participants are sometimes recruited around the world. Researchers have to wait for participants to come into contact with the pathogen naturally. By tracking how many become infected, they can work out how effective the vaccine is at protecting the group. It can take decades to gather enough data to be sure. But if you do, the vaccine can finally be licensed. There are still problems to overcome, however. Mass producing a vaccine to a high standard can be a difficult job. And once you've cracked production, you still have to deliver the vaccine to where it's needed. And then there's phase 4 monitoring, keeping track of rare adverse reactions that the vaccine might cause, even though it's past the previous trials. This trial process is very safe, but that comes at a cost. It is also very slow. In an emergency, there are ways to speed things up, like reducing the time spent waiting for paperwork to be completed, or running different trial phases at the same time. But steps are never missed out. By working more efficiently, a protective vaccine could be produced in as little as 12 to 18 months, and advances in biotechnology could speed up production pipelines as well. And there are more ways we could speed up production. Let's come back to some of those newer vaccine platforms. Nucleic acid vaccines don't use pathogens or antigens directly. Instead, they deliver the genetic templates for the antigens. These DNA or RNA templates can be delivered directly or in lipid nanoparticles that help them to enter cells and improve their stability after injection. These nanoscale fat droplets encapsulate the RNA or DNA, protecting it as it enters the body. Some lipid nanoparticles can also act as adjuvants, molecular triggers to kickstart the immune response. Once inside the body, these DNA or RNA templates instruct our cells to start making antigens which activate the immune response needed to build immunity. RNA and DNA are much easier and faster to produce in the lab than antigens are. They're also potentially safer than vaccines that contain whole pathogens. That means they could hopefully be used by people with weakened immune systems. But nucleic acid vaccines are still experimental. Another approach is called a viral vector. Viral vector vaccines work by inserting an incomplete segment of genetic material from a pathogen inside a harmless virus that doesn't cause disease. This then acts as a vehicle for the genetic material, delivering it to the right place in the body where it can be translated into proteins, triggering the immune system. The viral vector may even be self-replicating, increasing the amount of vaccine in the body. Viral vector vaccines are also quick to produce. Safe vectors have already been established, and it is relatively easy to insert different target genetic material into these established carriers. And as the genetic material inserted is incomplete, they can't replicate and cause disease, so they're also very safe. But there is only so much the process can be sped along. Effective vaccines can save millions of lives, but before they are used, they have to be proven to be safe and effective. In the future, researchers hope to develop vaccines against non-infectious diseases, like cancers, based on chemical markers called tumor neoantigens. Vaccine technology is developing every day, and it has a bright future, albeit a slow and methodical one.
Okay, so the major concern, or one of the major concerns that persons have, is that the vaccines were made too quickly. All right, so we learned a couple of things why the vaccine was made quickly. And one, bureaucracy was flattened. And we all understand bureaucracy. It has to go from this desk to that desk to that desk, and that can take eternity. Yes. So bureaucracy was flattened. That's number one. Number two, collaboration. So scientists no longer hoarded their information. They have rights and it's patented, and this country is the owner of. No. So there was collaboration with scientists about the vaccine and about their advances. There was also money. So research and development companies no longer had to go out and seek funding to make sure that, their proposal was accepted. No. So there was money coming in. So we had money, we had collaboration, we had flattening of bureaucracy. But what else did we have? We had a virus that was new because the variant or the strain was new, but that family of viruses have existed for a long time. We had MERS and SARS before, and scientists was indeed trying to make a vaccine for the family of coronavirus. So now that everybody could put hands and head and hearts and everything together, it was easy to move through. Another thing that we need to remember is that when we get to phase 3 trials, we need thousands of persons across the globe to participate. Yes, they have to be of different ages, gender, ethnicity, whatever. It had to be diverse. And it is usually very hard to get persons who have the illness or have an illness to see how your medicine will work in them. But last year it was not hard at all because every other study did have COVID. So it was easy to get persons from across the globe to participate in the phase 3 trials. So, for example, Pfizer had 40,000. Moderna had over 30,000 persons in their phase 3. AstraZeneca had over 40,000. Sinopharm 100,000. Sputnik V 100,000. So they got persons to be in the phase 3 trials. So what we need to remember is that no steps have been skipped and the vaccines are proven safe because you can't get from one point to the next unless it is a safe vaccine. So we have not been shortchanged. They have gone through and they continue to go through different phases of the trial because there are about 200 and plus vaccines trying to get to market. But what? Some of them are still in the phase 1 stage, some in phase 2, a few in phase 3. And of course, the 4 that we are familiar with are at the stage where we have emergency use authorization. So what on earth is emergency use authorization? This is simply just a facility that is granted to the stringent regulatory authorities or, well, not or, but like the FDA, and they can look at a drug that's being created and say, well, it's safe, it's effective, there is no viable alternative, and it can be administered globally. Now, of course, the vaccines have met those criteria, and that is why they're at the stage of emergency use authorization. Spoke to that already. So let's run through the myths now, because These are the things that are holding us back, like a chain. It is some of the myths. So we have the COVID-19 vaccine will alter my DNA. So if I take the vaccine, I'm going to turn into some other creature. I'm going to grow some extra hands and feet and all sorts of things. Well, that is not so. The vaccines that we have contain either messenger RNA or utilizes the viral vector platform. They don't get into the nucleus where our DNA is stored. These vaccines don't stay in the body for very long. I mean, when I say not very long, I mean, they stay in for like 2 hours, especially the messenger RNA vaccines. You know how fragile these vaccines are. They have to be kept at, minus 70 to minus 90. It's very cold. So once they warm up, they don't stay alive and well very long. And really, what is in the vaccine simply instructs our cells to make the spike proteins from the coronavirus so that we have antibodies. That's it. It doesn't affect our DNA. And then I'm sure most of us, at least all of us on this call, know somebody who take the vaccine. And have you seen them growing any extra parts? So, this thing that is going to alter our DNA is really null and void. The COVID-19 vaccine includes a tracking device. All right, so when you get the little jab in your hand, you're going to get a microchip that's placed so that every time you go to the bathroom, we all know, the government knows that you made a poo. Right, so really, that makes no sense. And there really is no vaccine microchip that will track us and track our personal information. The vaccines are really, really just to protect us from the disease, and in this case, COVID-19. But I think that the tracking myth came about because persons are so accustomed to what happens with Chinese telephone. Because the message that I want to give you, by the time it passed through 3 and 4 people, and the 5th person gets it, is something totally different from what I did say. And I think that is what happened here. Because guess what? We do track vaccines. We track the cold chain, the manufacturer, the batch number, the lot number. We track a whole heap of things with vaccines. Because we have to maintain the temperature. If the temperature is not maintained, the vaccine is no good. So coming from India, we go to Amsterdam, and then Miami, and then Jamaica. We have to track. But we don't put anything inside of people to track. We just track the vaccines, what's happening to the vaccine. All right. We also track important. We track lot number and batch number, because should you take the vaccine and something goes wrong, so I received the vaccine and I developed an illness, I can pull all the persons who received that batch of vaccines and I can go to all of them yard and I can say, okay, are you showing signs and symptoms of? And they all say no, then chances are it's coincidental what happened to me. Or all of them stay same way like me, then you can say, maybe it's the vaccine that has caused it. So we do track the vaccines. Let's run through the myths quickly now. The COVID-19 vaccines were developed using fetal tissue. I am going to just show you the components of the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's the one we have here. So it has the replication deficient adenovirus vector. Remember, it's a viral vector technology that is used. So the adenovirus is an agent that causes disease in some animals, not humans, and it has been purified and poured out, and it's just an empty shell that they place the COVID-19 spike protein genetic code and put it into that. Then you have histidine, that's some proteins. You have magnesium, some salts, some alcohol, some sugars, more salts, and water for injection. Polysorbate 80 is a compound that you can get cross-reactivity with, especially with other vaccines, but we don't mix the vaccines. If you start with Astra, you end with Astra. All right, so the COVID-19 vaccine causes infertility in women, so they want to kill off black people. and the world have too much people, so persons have to die after taking the vaccine. Well, that is not so. The vaccine does not train the body to attack the syncytin-1, which is a protein in the placenta, which could lead to infertility. There is also no amino acid sequence that's shared between the spike protein and any placental protein at all. And if you really look at what's been happening since the trials, phase 1 and 2, persons have become pregnant, persons are delivering healthy babies. I have already been diagnosed with COVID-19, so I do not need to get the vaccine. That is not so. If you have had the disease already and you get better, yes, you need to get the vaccine, simply because natural immunity wanes, it fades. And if you're following the disease, you will know persons or hear of persons who had the illness, them get better, and then them get sick again, them get it again. So you need to get the vaccine. You can get COVID-19 from the vaccine. I just showed you the components. It does not have in the virus. So if it don't have it in, it cannot give it to you. If you don't have it, how can it give it to you? So that one is easy. Once I receive the vaccine, I will test positive for COVID-19. Okay, you can use the same argument. If you don't have it, then you can't give it. But then let's look at this a little closer. Now, if I have the virus in me now, as maybe many of us on this platform this afternoon into evening, but we are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, then I get my vaccine tomorrow and you go and test me. Of course, I'm going to test positive for the virus because I did already have it inside of me. I was asymptomatic. So giving me the vaccine and then testing me, yes, I'm going to test positive, but it's not the vaccine giving me, they don't have it already. And then if we are testing for antibodies, remember we said the vaccine primed the body to produce antibodies. So if you're doing an antibody test, then of course it is going to be positive. You actually want it to be positive. The COVID-19 vaccine has severe side effects such as allergic reactions. Yes, it can. Like anything can have a severe allergic reaction. It's extremely rare, but it does happen, just like one and few people in the world allergic to peanut and shellfish and wasp bite and bee sting. And if you eat peanut and you swell up like bullfrog and go to the doctor, you get better, you're not going to eat peanut again. So if you have an allergic reaction to the medication, we're not going to give you a second dose. And then you have some persons among us that just say, guess what? I'm not contaminating my body with nothing. Natural immunity for me. All right, so we have been waiting on natural immunity for a year. But just remember, 2.65 million persons have died. Persons that we know. 1 and 2 of them we know. So as we wait for natural immunity and herd immunity, lots of persons will continue to die, and we might just be among them. So the vaccines really build immunity without the damaging effects of COVID-19. Myth: once I receive COVID-19 vaccine, I no longer need to wear a mask. So everybody has said this. So me I take it far because I still have a social distance, I still have to wear a mask. Yes, you do. We must continue mask wearing, hand washing, and physical distances. Why? Because what do the vaccines do? They protect us from severe illness, hospitalization, and death. So if I get the vaccine and I don't wear my mask and I don't do the other things, then I am very selfish because I know that I'm not going to get sick, so I good. But guess what? You have not received the vaccine as yet, and therefore you are susceptible or vulnerable, and you can get it because I still have it in my respiratory tract, sneezing and coughing and spitting on you when I talk. So you can get it, and I would be selfish to make that happen. So I need to continue to wear my mask until enough of us are immunized. That's herd immunity, and that's 70% of the population. So that even if the virus in my nose and I sneeze and cough and you sneeze and cough, it not gonna do you nothing. Okay, so until then, we need to wear our masks. Who is getting the vaccines? Well, we don't know already. It's for AstraZeneca, it's persons over the age of 18, and a lot of our older persons, we have done healthcare workers, JDF, JCF, And we're doing the elderly now over 75. But let me just tell you, if you have what we call comorbid conditions or underlying illness, you forget the vaccine. Simply because the persons with these illnesses do worse. They are the ones that are dying. When you look at our death toll, almost everybody that dead in Jamaica have what? Sugar, pressure, asthma, emphysema. Them have something, them have, right? So it is those persons in particular who should run down the vaccine. So if you're obese, you must take it. If you have heart problem and hypertension, you're to take it. If you have asthma, emphysema, bronchitis, yes, you are to take it. If you have sugar, yes, you are to take it. If you have HIV or otherwise immunocompromised, yes. If you have an autoimmune disease such as lupus, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, yes, you are to take the vaccine. If you have recovered from the disease, you get it and get better, yes, you are to take the vaccine. If you receive antibodies, and you will recall that last year, the university was begging people blood. If you get the disease and get better, beg some blood, we're going to purify it, get the antibodies to treat people. So if you got antibody treatment, you can get the vaccine, but you have to wait 90 days after the treatment. And then I missed the number one because it's given to pregnant and lactating healthcare workers, not everybody. Well, the vaccine was not done, clinical trials were not done on pregnant women. Therefore, we don't know how it's going to react with pregnant women. But we have some facts. We know that the vaccine utilizes the viral vector technology, which means it is not replicated. So it cannot go into the placenta and it cannot go into breast milk. So it basically can't do the baby nothing. When you look at mommy now, and mommy, who is a healthcare worker, is super exposed, when pregnant women get COVID-19, they don't do so well. Actually, they do very bad. They tend to die. They tend to have premature babies. So when we look at that risk, compared to the fact that we know that the vaccine not going to do the baby nothing, then for those super exposed persons, we opt to give them the vaccine. Now, the good news is that because almost 400 million persons across the world have received the vaccine and they're well, they can now start their trials in children and persons with autoimmune conditions as well as. So who not to get the vaccine? Well, if you have an acute allergy to any of the components, remember what it makes up on? Some sugars and some salts and little alcohol. If you're allergic to any of those things, then you shouldn't take the vaccine. Not if you're allergic to aspirin, not if you're allergic to penicillin, not if you're allergic to peanut and crayfish, because those things are not in the vaccine. If you have had an anaphylactic reaction or severe allergic reaction after the first dose, then of course we're not going to give you the second dose. So AstraZeneca, we're still talking Astra. Astra, as of last week, Monday, some important and informative and valuable news came to us that 75% effectiveness is noted at stopping symptomatic disease. So yeah, you get the something, but you don't show no sign and symptom. Isn't that wonderful? You're sick and you don't even know, but nothing happened to you. That's great. That's 79%. And the bigger news is that it is 100% effective against falling ill. So you get the something and you won't need to go and no hospital. And remember, we don't really want to go to any hospital now because they can't look after us. The hospitals are bursting at the seams. So that's good news for Astra, which is what we're using. So we started, everybody on the platform who get them injection already know it's a single dose of 0.5 of a mil into the upper arm, and we give you the second dose 8 to 12 weeks after the first. And everybody is concerned about side effects. So you have 3 groups of side effects, very, very common, and not so common. In the very common, pain, tenderness, warmth, redness, itching, bruising at the injection site, just feeling generally unwell, very tired, getting chills, headache, nausea, joint and muscle pain. And the common ones now. 1 in 10 persons, you may get a lump at the injection site, fever, vomiting, flu-like illness. Uncommon, persons may feel dizzy, have decreased appetite, abdominal pain, enlarged lymph nodes, wax and canal all over the body, excessive sweating, itching skin, or rash. The important thing to note is that all of these symptoms usually disappear within 24 to 48 hours. And of course, if you're kind of like unfortunate, it might go up to 72 hours. But this level of discomfort is a good thing. It is a good thing because it is telling us that our bodies are reacting well to the intelligence, the vaccine. It's being primed and we're doing the right thing. We're making the antibodies. So this little discomfort is actually a good thing. And remember, it doesn't last for very long. So we know that vaccines are safe and effective. Those steps have been skipped in making the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccines will save lives. They'll allow persons to return to whatever we call normal before. We can get back there. And, when we talk vaccines, we always talk medicine. But the impact that COVID-19 has had on countries' economies and on people really are suffering. Some people don't even know where their next food will come from. And if something don't give, then a lot of persons are going to die, not necessarily from COVID, but other economic challenges. So we believe that vaccines will put medicine back on the right track. Yes, balancing the scale. Our country will have healthy people who have a work, can go to school, can socialize a bit, play little sports, go to church, oh my goodness, and even travel. Thank you very much. I am going to hand over back to the chair at this point.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ennis, for that very wonderful presentation and informative. I just want to recognize some of our church groups that have entered our session today targeted the church. And I see represented Brownstone Tabernacle Church, Testament Church of God. Reverend Carl Archer, I see you, President of the North Jamaica Conference of SDA Churches. Thank you so much for coming to share with us and coming to attend the meeting. St. Anne's Bay Baptist Church, the Exchange New Testament Church of God. So welcome to all churches present. While you type your questions in the chat, I invite you at this point, really just to type your questions for Dr. Ennis in the chat so she can look at them. We're going to be playing a short video while you type your questions in the chat, and then she's going to respond to the questions because I noticed that persons have similar questions. So Dr. Ennis, while we are playing the video, you can review questions in the chat and answer them in a very concise way. So let's now go to our video. Allow me to share my screen.
This morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror and every part of my body was in place. Many people died and never saw this day. So another day I live, I appreciate. Don't ever wanna act too high and mighty, cause tomorrow I can fall down on my face. So in everything, Lord, I give you praise, and that puts a smile on my face. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, beautiful day, beautiful day. Don't fuss and fight, let us unite. We got one life, oh, it's a beautiful day, yeah, it's a beautiful day. So yeah, though I walk through the valleys of the shadows of death, I will fear no evil, won't be dismayed. When I see the clock ticking away and things are not in place, everything in life disappointment comes with a lesson. It's for me to get wiser, got to work harder. In the end, it will get better. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day.
Or national or Blitz operation at the National Arena held yesterday. Northeast, the Blitz operation for the Northeast Regional Health Authority, Dr. has asked me to share, will be held at the Bahia Principe Hotel on April 10. But definitely you will hear more about that. I now stop sharing, and the person should have been typing their questions in chat. I now invite Dr. Ennis back to the mic to respond to these questions. Dr. Ennis, you will know that there were some questions posed earlier for Dr. Ennis. So your question should be a little bit below the one for Bobby Tankurani. I think that was the last question that related to Dr. Weir. So Dr. Ennis, I now hand over to you to respond to the questions. And please type your questions in the chat for Dr. Ennis. Thank you so much.
Thank you for unmuting me. All right, so I was watching the video. I wasn't reading the chat. Sorry. Anyway, I saw one question about someone with pulmonary embolism, if they could take the vaccine. Yes, you can take the vaccine once you are well. So just having a history of a pulmonary embolism does not stop you or preclude you from getting the vaccine. Another concern was if you're elderly and unable to get to the vaccination site, will we get to you? And the answer is yes, just be patient. We are working on our mobile team. Okay, I heard that if you are allergic to the tetanus shot, you should not take the AstraZeneca. Is this true? I do not have that information. I have not read that anywhere. If you have any research on it, please do share. But I am not aware of that. Okay. Okay, somebody is speaking to participation of phase 3. The time for long-term study has not been qualified. Nonetheless, the vaccines were approved for emergency use, no viable alternative. Okay, with 80% of infections being asymptomatic, and Minister indicated that 40% of Jamaicans having COVID were closer to herd immunity. That's not really a question. That's some comments, and the comments have been noted. Can you speak about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in comparison to the other vaccines? All the vaccines that have been granted emergency use authorization are safe and effective. It is really about supply and demand and what is being offered to particular countries. So whatever vaccine that has been approved and is offered should be the vaccine that we all take. Now, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine utilizes a similar platform. However, it is a one-dose vaccine. It has a 68 to 70% efficacy, and it prevents symptomatic disease in about 81% of the times. But as I said, whichever vaccine that is offered, once it has passed the certification, then it is a good vaccine and we should take it. The term emergency use, okay, the term emergency use gives the impression that the process is not fully completed, but because of the pending crisis, we are taking our chances. Please speak to this. You have spoken to it. We are in an emergency. And we could all wait, you know. We could all not do anything and we could wait on another year or 2 or 3 for us to see what happens. And if we are around and we don't die while we wait, we would see. But chances are a lot of us, a lot more of us, will die if nothing is done. So, yes, it is emergency use. And the process has been completed because it has gone through the 3 phases. So there's not any process that is incomplete. What is ongoing is phase 4 trials, which are not really trials because that is when medications are given to the world at large. And you will know that a medication might be on the market for 10, 15, 20 years after just about billions of persons have taken it. And you have a 1 in every 5 million chance of something. And that is then noted. So it's only with the numbers of persons. And those phase 4 monitoring trials continue for all medications. What about persons who are ill on meds? Will the vaccine affect them? No, if you're ill with an underlying condition and you're taking your medication, then taking the vaccine is fine. Now, if you are in an acute phase of illness, then we are not going to vaccinate because we don't vaccinate unwell persons. Why is the treatment of ivermectin not pushed along? All treatments, the clinical management team utilizes all methods that are approved to treat our COVID-19 patients. We don't usually go on air and speak to the exact medications we're using to treat anybody in hospital. So we are using a combination of medications, all that is used pretty much around the world. But the focus at this time is on vaccines, and that's why we're speaking vaccines. Okay, let us mosey on down. Doc, that slide showed symptomatic. Let me see if I can go to the thing above that. I did my research, and even WHO and the President of America said you can still catch and also transfer. Well, I'm glad you believe in the President of the US and that you can still catch and transfer the virus. So what is the real purpose of the vaccination? Okay. And also CEO has said social distance is massive. Right. So I have tried to explain that, but let's do this one more time. We are not selfish. And that is why we continue to wear our mask and social distance and hand wash. Because we know that when we take the vaccine, we are protected. I am protected. I won't get seriously ill. I won't need to be hospitalized, and I possibly will not die. So I am safe. But now I turn on my selfless cap because I know that there is not enough vaccines at this time to vaccinate every single person in Jamaica or the world because the supply is much less than the demand. So as I still have the virus possibly in my respiratory tract and I can pass it on to someone who is not as fortunate as I am to have received the vaccine and can get very ill and can need to be hospitalized and can die, I am going to wear my mask and I'm going to encourage them to wear theirs as well. It is only until all of us or sufficient numbers of us are immunized so that when I cough and sneeze and my droplets catch you and you cough and sneeze, it does nothing to you, it does nothing to anybody else. And that's when we get to herd immunity. So we vaccinate for ourselves and we vaccinate for everyone else around us. So that's why we wear the mask. Doc, that slide showed symptomatic. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it should say asymptomatic, maybe. Oh, okay. Right, it's 75% effective against symptoms. So that's correct. So it's 79% effective against symptoms. So you will not show any symptoms at all. You will remain asymptomatic. That's what that was trying to say. All right, not seeing the purpose of vaccine. Okay, well, not seeing it during when you say health workers to take it, but is interested now. What's the quickest? Oops, that's going too far. So if we did not take the vaccine during when we said healthcare workers, but interested now, what's the process? Well, the process now is that you register. So remember, Dr. Ware gave you the 888 One Love number to call or to go on the www.moh.gov.jm website and register. So you'll register and you'll get an appointment and you will go and get your vaccine as the healthcare worker. Johnson & Johnson products give cancer allegedly. Why vaccine in that brand? Johnson & Johnson products give cancer allegedly. Well, I'm glad you have allegedly in bold and caps. Well, not bold, but in caps and exclamation. So you're not stating a fact. Why vaccine in that brand? You know, I'm not sure how to answer this particular question. It's not a question, it's a statement. And it's an allegedly. So even the Lord forgives. I'm going to leave it at that. Even the Lord forgives. So if persons make a mistake, we don't usually, you know, you go to prison, you serve your sentence, you take a break after that. So, you know, I move on from that one. What about someone who have heart disease and have circulation problems? Yes, you should still take the vaccine because you have an underlying condition. And if you get the disease, you're not going to do so well. If you are breastfeeding, we're only giving it to healthcare workers. If you're breastfeeding and you're a healthcare worker, you can take the vaccine. But you will be offered the vaccine. Should someone with autoimmune condition like myasthenia gravis? Yes. If you're having an acute flare of any of the autoimmune conditions, we're not going to give you the vaccine because that means you're very sick. If also you are on intravenous immunosuppressant therapy, that's IV medication, you can get the vaccine, but you have to wait at least 14 days between your IV infusion and your vaccine. And of course, if you take the influenza vaccine, you have to wait 14 days to get the COVID vaccine as well. You go to private doctor and test positive, you then told to take taxi to nearest clinic, then go to nearest clinic. They said that you can call and they must stay home and no call, nobody to check on. Okay. To check on you. So is it that they said you send you home to die? Again, there is no system I know that is absolutely perfect. Persons are dealing with a pandemic. The places are crowded. Persons are still not possibly responding the way they should. We have to take whatever precautions we can, and we have to work as best as we can. So if you go to your private doctor and you're positive and symptomatic, then I'm sure you'll be channeled to a hospital facility where you'll be assessed. Now that assessment may mean you need to stay in hospital or you can isolate at home. There are different degrees to the severity of person's illness. And we have to also be mindful that all hospitals, not only in Jamaica, but around the world, are overwhelmed. There is simply no space. And, you know, if you are going to die, if you're in hospital, you're going to die. And if you go home, you're going to die. So if you are to die, you're going to die. So let us not be hung up on, you know, people sending you home to go dead. Nobody's sending anybody home to die. Some persons just have to go home. How do I get an appointment? Well, we just went through that. That was the 188. How do I get an appointment for the Blitz at Alexandria? I don't know that there's a Blitz at Alexandria. I have to talk to Dr. Ware about that. When it will be the educators' turn to take the vaccine? Well, the educators are in the first tranche. They are scheduled for in short order. Of course, we have to get more vaccines in country to complete the first order of business. But you are on the slate to be vaccinated in this first round. I haven't seen any publication from the CDC or our local health ministry that states how long immunity lasts from the COVID vaccine. Well, you won't see any information on how long it lasts because we simply don't know how long it lasts. A few studies have come out of Italy and China that is suggesting that we may need to take the COVID-19 vaccine on an annual basis, similar to how we take the flu vaccine. But that's not concrete as yet. With the variant, will the vaccine give immunity? Well, we know of 4 variants that are circulating in the world: the Brazilian, the UK, the South African, and there's another one that is coming up now. The AstraZeneca vaccine is slightly reduced in its efficacy for mild and moderate disease in the UK variant. For the South African variant, it is markedly reduced in its effectiveness for mild and moderate disease. But in both the South African and the European strain, it is still effective in severe disease, and therefore it is recommended. We have the original strain here in Jamaica. We also have found a few of the UK strain. We have not found the South African strain as yet, and therefore the vaccine, based on what is circulating in country, remains effective. Okay. Why are we given one option? It is about supply and demand. There is limited supply of vaccines. And once you're offered a vaccine and it's effective and it has passed PAHO WHO's ratification and it is on their emergency use list, then you take it. We could wait and say, oh, I'm not taking this vaccine. I'm waiting until this particular brand from this particular place becomes available. But, as Jamaicans, we also know that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. At work, many promises. So, yeah. Why is it that you still need to take the vaccine if you have already gotten the illness? That's because natural immunity does not last very long. It wanes over time, and you can get the disease again. You can get very ill, and you can die. Okay, so we all know that we cannot file a lawsuit against any vaccine company because all vaccine companies have been indemnified. And that is for every single human in the world. So there is nobody taking the COVID-19 vaccine that can sue any vaccine company. They have been indemnified. So we all know that. Indemnification is not something new. Indemnification has been going on for years. from in the 1980s. There is no American that can sue any manufacturing company for vaccine against anything that can go wrong, because they have all been indemnified. The manufacturers have said that they are simply deferring the risk. Their core business is the generation of medications, okay? They are not splitting hairs to have a legal team to do investigation to find cause and effect that is going to distract them from their core business. And therefore, they have deferred the risk to governments. So if something goes terribly wrong in any country, well, certainly in the US and here, you can sue the government. You just cannot sue the manufacturer. What prevents Jamaica from producing its own vaccines? I guess the simple answer to that is nothing. But the more complicated answer to that is capacity, resources, financial resources, human resources. But we certainly have the brilliance, but we don't have the resources at this time. And it's not just Jamaica. I think the only Caribbean island that produces medication is Cuba, really. I don't know what that question is. What prevents, okay, I did that one already. I did the variance already. I did that one already, I think. I did that one. Okay, have I missed any? Oh, if you have recently have an organ transplant. Oops. All right, so organ transplant. If you have recently had an organ transplant, then I'm going to assume that you're on immunosuppressive therapy. And if you're on immunosuppressive therapy, IV therapy, then you cannot take the vaccine at this time until your immune system picks up again. No, after you take the COVID-19 vaccine, I'm not sure, does it make you at risk in the future to get any vaccine like DPT or DT? No. It's not going to do you anything or prevent you from taking any other medication. All the vaccine does is prime your immune system against COVID-19. So it's not doing anything else. But a young person, what is the schedule for the next lot of vaccines in Jamaica? We're going to continue with the old people, and we're going to do persons 60 to 70 with comorbid conditions, then 60 to 70, then below that. And you know that teachers, the educators are in that group as well. Got the vaccine on Wednesday last week, had itching of my skin and feeling of swollen lips, still having the symptoms today Sunday, but not as initially. If it continues, what should I do? You should go to your doctor, you should call your health center, you should call the station that you receive the vaccine. Is there a guarantee that the vaccine is safe for persons who are on blood thinners because of clots? Yes. Can you mix vaccines? No, you cannot. Will there be new dates online to register at centers booked out? Yes. Was it said that Mesa Hall in St. Mary is a community of concern for COVID virus? Dr. Ware, that question belongs to you. And I believe I have completed the questions in the chat.
Wow, that was a lot.
It was.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ennis. I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic and the national rollout has been so dynamic, and things are happening so quickly, and you have really kept us informed and up to date with critical information. Your presentation was really, as usual, interesting, and I'm so happy that you've answered the concerns of all our participants today. Just to say, on behalf of the Northeast Regional Health Authority, we thank you so much. I hear it in your voice that you are tired. So we thank you so much from the depths of our heart. We truly appreciate you coming to share with us. We know it is not easy, and so thank you so much for sharing with us today. There are no more questions. So we have come to the end of our program. And so let me say thank you to everyone for coming to participate. Thanks to all our churches that represented. Thanks to Reverend Gordon from the Clarkstown SDA Circuit of Churches that shared our devotional exercise that Jesus is indeed our peace and Jesus is the real vaccine to our problems. So thank you very much, Reverend Gordon. Special thanks to Dr. Deborah Ware, who shared on the distribution of cases in the Northeast Regional Health Authority. Thanks to our wonderful audience, the general public, the churches, everybody who came out today to learn. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you coming. So thank you once again and enjoy the rest of the evening. Dr. Ennis, take care. Dr.
Thank
Weir,
you so
take care.
very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
My co-host, Ms. Murray, thank you so much. A pleasure. So we'll close out with a video so you can watch the video as you leave. Let me just share my screen.
COVID-19 is still here. Always wear your mask correctly while in public places, covering your nose and mouth at all times. Masks should never be worn over the head, under your chin, below your nose, or hanging from your ears. Recovery from COVID-19 can take up to 60 days or more. The mask or the ventilator? You choose. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Hey, it's a girl Shensia with a message to you. Hey, it's a girl Shensia with a message to you from myself and the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Shen Yangs, everyone see wear a mask, let the numbers drop. I don't want COVID, lay you down flat. Nose and mouth, you fi cover up that. Sanitizer gets hospitalized. Fight the virus, then fight for your life, yeah. Nobody talk about say you no response no more. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you not have it. You can still get the virus from somebody. Don't be reckless, cause your test say you not have it. You can still get the virus. So keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Yeah. Keep the numbers down. Protect yourself and the people around. COVID in town, 6 feet apart and 6 feet in the ground. Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive.
The next person in your friend at school or your co-worker may have COVID-19 and not know because they have no symptoms. You, on the other hand, could be hospitalized for 2 months or more if you become infected. Is it worth it? Stay socially connected, but keep the physical distance. Stay 6 feet away and avoid a hospital stay. COVID-19 is not over. Protect yourself while protecting others. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
This morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror and every part of my body was in place. Many people died and never saw this day. So another day I live, I appreciate. Don't ever wanna act too high and mighty, cause tomorrow I can fall down on my face. So everything, Lord, I give you praise. And that puts a smile on my face. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day, beautiful day, beautiful day. Don't fuss and fight, let us unite. We got one life, oh, it's a beautiful day, yeah. It's a beautiful day. So yeah, though I walk through the valleys of the shadows of death, I will fear no evil, won't be dismayed. When I see the clock ticking away and things are not in place, everything in life happens for a reason. Disappointment comes with a lesson. It's for me to get wiser, got to work harder. In the end, it will get better. Lord, I thank you for sunshine, thank you for rain, thank you for joy, thank you for pain. It's a beautiful day.
Coronavirus is in Jamaica. Employees are working from home, schools are closed, and major events are being postponed. This is because the government needs Jamaicans to help stop the spread of the virus. If the number of infected persons increases, our hospitals and health centers will be challenged. Thankfully, each of us has the power to fight the spread of coronavirus. If we stay home and avoid contact with others as much as possible, we can slow the spread and save lives. Entering public spaces makes you more likely to put others, especially the elderly and people with chronic illnesses, at risk. So this is your chance to protect yourself and others. Wash your hands regularly. Stay at least 3 feet away from other persons. Be a hero. Stay at home.
Hi, I'm Chris Tufton, Minister of Health and Wellness. Vaccination has always been a critical part of protecting the health of our Jamaican people. The more of us who get vaccinated, the greater our chances of slowing the spread of COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine now available to Jamaica has met all the required safety and quality standards. I will take the vaccine, so let's vaccinate to stay safe. Today was a good day for the
is still here. Always wear your mask correctly while in public places.